Den Green Conference de 2012 pone atención na onde reto más grande. Esta es onde llega a una sociedad sostenible, consciente, que tiene límite na desarrollo socioeconómico debe na recurso nan limitado. Tapesei únicamente una escogencia inteligente lo por alimentar crecimiento sostenible. En esta sesión de Green Conference atrece un elenco de oradores de talla mundial que va a compartir nan experiencia con nosotros y a inspirarnos. En esta que Aruba busca socio nan estratégico para ayudar a carga el pensamiento de un Aruba sostenible y su atención para cambio nan climatológico como consecuencia del uso de combustible fósil. Ahora en Green Conference 2012, orador nan global está reafirmar la dirección que nos está ganando y que Aruba está un ejemplo para el mundo.
But the hosting of the conference is definitely a step in the right direction. I was particularly impressed with the role of the private sector. This is something that the United Nations has been promoting many years now. And we have been trying to encourage countries to get the private sector much more involved in what the governments are doing, so that we can form what we call the PPPs, public-private partnerships. And you know, the private sector has a responsibility as well to the development of the country. And I'm seeing that as a drastic change in Aruba from the last time I visited to this time.
Ik ben zeer aangenaam verrast wat er allemaal hier aan ideeën bestaan. De premier, één man, heeft natuurlijk mij al wat onthuld toen wij samen waren in Rio + 20, de grote conferentie, Rio de Janeiro. Toen zag ik al dat Aruba zeer veel ambitie heeft. Ik ben ook op zijn uitnodiging naar de Carbon War Room geweest, waar Sir Richard was en de premier. Dus dat vond ik al een adembenemende show, maar ook een serieus verhaal. En ook als ik het meer hier meemaak, dan het is niet zomaar window dressing zoals de Britten dat noemen, maar het is echt werkelijk tot en met concrete projecten waar ik gisteren mee geweest.
El diplomático internacional para el Ministerio de Medio Ambiente holandés está reconocer la seriedad de la intención del gobierno para llegar a una sociedad sostenible para 2020. Den cumprimento de essa aqui, ora observar tecnologia novo, não para unicamente fazer uma transição para energia sustentável, sino para uma sociedade sustentável, e essa aqui é necessário. Aruba mira um sentido de obrigação de esse.
Ultimately, there is no climate solution without the US and China being not just involved, but ultimately leading the way. At the same time, there are certain difficulties, technological difficulties, engineering difficulties that are very challenging. In particular, managing renewables and their intermittency, specifically solar and wind, is very difficult. Now, there are some countries like Costa Rica that have over 90% renewable, but most of that is hydroelectric power. And hydroelectric power is very easy because you just can open the gates whenever you want the water to flow, and it's not such a problem. Unfortunately, Aruba is not blessed with large hydro resources. And so instead, you have enormous solar and wind potential, but you have to deal with that intermittency. And ultimately, this is a challenge that the rest of the world will have to deal with too. So in some ways, Aruba can be a laboratory for the world in how you solve those problems of integrating solar and wind.
Agora aqui tem sentido para Aruba los de dependencia de azeta. Essa aqui não porta unicamente a visão de algum e outro não nota reconhecer na mesma. É mesmo um compromisso nacional que todo sector de sociedade está reconhecendo.
The price of electricity now from natural gas in the US is less than 5 cents a kilowatt hour. It's nearly 50 cents here in Aruba. And so the answer of why Aruba is because it actually makes sense for Aruba. I think anybody in Aruba has to be able to understand that spending almost $200 million a year on fuel oil, sending it off island, is bad for the Aruban economy. And people can do calculations, but doing this year after year after year ultimately is a mistake. If we can figure out how to build 100% renewable electricity in Aruba, not developing new technology. That's not going to be Aruba's strength, but actually putting the systems together and the integration to ultimately make it work, a grid that has really dominated by solar and wind. That is going to not only change Aruba in terms of the long-term economics and stability of Aruba, but also change the world.
Pero expandir a generación de energía con de dos parques de molina de viento a para vir a controversia.
Resistance to any kind of new construction. People fear things. They fear change. You know, if they don't understand that ultimately a generator powered by oil that makes electricity from burning fuel oil is bad for the island. But they don't see it. All they do is pay their electricity bill every month, and they don't think about it. Now, suddenly a new wind farm goes up, and they see the windmills, and they think, oh, are they dangerous? Maybe something bad will happen. Every community that I know of has faced this problem. And in every community, those concerns about health, about noise, have all been ultimately disproven. Aruba has to go through its own process to convince its people that this is safe, and that's fine. But if you look around the world, wind is the fastest growing energy source in the US. This is, in terms of new capacity installed, this is not a dangerous technology. The US, if wind were a dangerous technology, there would be so many lawsuits in the US that you would know all about it. You know, ultimately, good policies have to be implemented and consensus has to be built, and that's a process. That process has to be followed, but in the end, you know, the claims about wind being dangerous is quite silly because countries all over the world have faced these claims and shown them not to be true.
Urarama is, because it's so bare, no vegetation, then there's also no animals. There's a lot of rocks, but rocks don't mind wind turbines. So yeah, of course, some people who live there, who go there for recreational reasons, they're not particularly fond of the idea. I can understand. Now, unfortunately, those people went into the internet and discovered not only that the Earth is flat and that people never went to the moon, but also that there are health issues related to wind turbines, which is total crap. It simply is non-existent. I provided them with very, very strong evidence. Since these rumors are on the internet, Massachusetts, facing the same problem, asked the most distinguished expert panel you can possibly imagine in the world, having the doctors, head of clinics from Harvard University, Boston University, and New England University, and then you know this is the top of the world, who unanimously said the wind turbine syndrome does not exist.
Ahora, con seguimiento de Avenida de Desarrollo Sostenible lo impacta nos bienestar social, tem elemento fundamental nessa aqui foi perspectiva de Nações Unidas, onde seu representante não a participar da Green Conference.
In the social arena, and we do a lot of work on social dimensions of development as well, we're looking at youth. What is the role of youth in the development of a country? I think sometimes we underestimate young people and their potential in terms of their contributions that they can make. We owe it to young people to really develop their fullest potentials, encourage them to contribute to the development of a country, get them involved from a very, very young age, and allow them to accept the responsibility of becoming involved and contributing to the development of the country. Without young people, they are our future, they will be Aruba's future, and therefore we need to get them involved.
Coordenador de Unidade de Desarrollo Sostenible na Comissão de Nações Unidas para Latinoamérica e Caribe, está estacionado na Trinidad and Tobago. Nanta observar assunto não que é importante para o estado não chiquito de desarrollo, está enfocar em turismo, cambio de clima, energia, aspecto econômico e também green economy.
The green economy is, to me, definitely sustainable livelihoods, promoting sustainable livelihoods. And how do you do it? You've got the different technologies that you can use to promote sustainable livelihoods. The UN constantly talks about social equity, which is becoming more and more important to us. We've been talking about environmental and economics for eons, but the social equity is becoming increasingly important. Social protection is becoming very, very important to us. And we basically are looking at the green economy as using the available technologies and new ones, such as renewable energy technologies, improving energy efficiency in the promotion of sustainable livelihoods.
Ora mira nos tamanho, esta mostra um acercamento hobby ambicioso ribe trajecto para chegar a uma sociedade sustentável. Sócio nang rond mundo ta abraça a visão e ideia nan di primeiro-ministro Mike Eyman. Esta visa com que Aruba está preparando para Hafi, é importante para o mundo, para sobre esta uma direção que o toma para conservar nosso planeta.
In his opening remarks, he clearly knew what he was talking about. You know, I didn't see any script, and I noted that very carefully. Normally, leaders read from scripts, pre-prepared scripts that somebody else writes, but he did not have a script, so he clearly spoke from his heart. He was clearly very knowledgeable about Aruba and the challenges faced in Aruba. He's also very knowledgeable about the successes of Aruba, although you can see the humility in the gentleman in terms of expressing those successes. But he was more appealing to the people of Aruba, work with me to let's make Aruba a better place for our children to live, or future generations to live. He's clearly has the leadership that the country needs in order to take the country forward and on its development path in greening economies. And one of the very, very important governance matters that could actually contribute to the success of any initiative is political commitment. And it is something that, you know, we need from whoever is in power. It just does not matter. Whoever is the leader, whoever is the head, we need political commitment. And it seems to me, from what I have heard and seen this morning, Aruba clearly has it.
Wat wij nodig hebben is te laten zien, het is geen druppel op de gloeiende plaat. Het kan gewoon gedaan worden, ook in een wat grotere gemeenschap als Aruba. Die niet zomaar alleen een paar probleempjes heeft, maar wel degelijk grote toeristenstromen heeft en wel degelijk een olieraffinerij. En zelfs die heeft de ambitie en kan het ook waarmaken om CO2-neutraal te worden. En dat verhaal wil ik heel graag in de wereld uitdragen aan de onderhandelingstafels waar ik ook maar ben.
I really just salute all Arubans in terms of what they're willing to do. I think that the Prime Minister is visionary, really in thinking and leading Aruba down this path. And I really congratulate all Arubans for seizing this opportunity. You know, world history is at a point now where these new technologies, solar photovoltaics, windmills, are now inexpensive enough to really compete with the fossil systems, especially oil-driven systems that Aruba now uses. And there's a real opportunity to not only do something good for the world, but something that will be good for Aruba.
If Aruba can't, then no one can. You know, we are uniquely suited to try this, and I think we'll succeed, try this new alternative. It's not really, if we'll succeed, we have to, because there's not much alternative. So I'm very proud of that. You know, I proudly I have told my colleagues, you know, we are on 20% wind power nominally, going to 40% one day and maybe 50 one day. So it's really impressive. It far exceeds the amount done in the US, and I think we're showing the way.